He's a kid. Oh, she didn't. I know. Who's not, right? I mean, it's yeah. All right. So we're gonna go to chapter 11, where we all go bankrupt. Oh, let me give you a.
Please, thank you.
Let's see. What would you like? Joshua for you. Joshua for you. How about a Joshua for you? Chapter 11. Somebody threw a Samuel 2 in here, which is just completely unacceptable. Samuels are unacceptable. Yeah. So we're going to do the northern conquest. So just as we saw last time, the southern conquest. Oh, I didn't bring my pointer, but the southern conquest, which we know. Okay, and so when they're coming across here, and they just basically did this whole. So we had it on the previous map, which maybe somebody still has with you. I didn't bring with me, but this part. So that, and in effect, what Yehoshua does with the army, and as commanded by Hashem, is, you create a division here to divide the southern part, so that the northern part can come and help them. So we're going to look at this chapter where they're going to now conquer the northern part.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, exactly. I'm just saying, that's what we're up to divide,
And left McLeod with the captain.
Yeah, I mean, there's you name it, but I mean, there's so many wild things that are going on now. Like we're doing a challah bake this Friday. Did you see the footage of the mom of the girl who came home yesterday that they rescued, and she did a challah bake on Friday, and you see her like saying her daughter's name over and over again. And I'm not such a heebie-jeebie kind of guy.
Part of the same group that the other 4 came from, do you know?
No.
She was
with the soldier who was
in an observatory post. They're not saying. They're not going to say. Not going to say. But this, and also the guy on TV, the Chiloni reporter. Did you see this? Oh, this is awesome. He asked the guy next to him, because give me your kippah. The guy takes his kippah off, he puts it on, and he says, "With Shem Malchus, Baruch Atah Shem Malchus, Matir Asurim." Like freeze those who are bound up. Like Israel. I love Israelis. So yeah. Okay. So Vayhi chapter 11. Vayhi Kishma Yavin Melech Chatzor. Vayishlach El Yovav Melech Madon Vel Melech Shimron Vel Melech Achshaf. This is going to be a lot of names, but this map will come in handy. And again, I forgot, somebody emailed me about where do I get the maps from. I forgot who that was. I don't know who it was, but I said it's all the Christian sites. They have the best maps. So this is from something called BibleMapper.com, which I don't think is Jewish, but you're going to see, looking at the north, all the way to Sidon, and we see entire is like Lebanon. Okay. If you'll remember, on this map here, the red lines, but you see going all the way up to Lebanon. If you remember in 1982, you made me see it. Good. In 1982, when they went as far as, past the Litani River, and they decided to let's get biblical for a while. I don't know, however that worked out. Anyway, so a lot of these places we'll recognize, a lot of them we may not. But Vahi Kishma Yavin Melech Hatzov Yishlach El Yavav Melech Madon El Melech Ve'el Melech Shimron Ve'el Melech Achshav. So remember, these were many different kingdoms who were when Perek Yud Aleph.
Oh, שכחתי את הספר.
Okay, it's still going to be there when you come back. Don't worry. So all these different kingdoms who no one was united, they only become united when they want to come against the Jewish people, right? If you learn anything the last few weeks, I learned is one of the, there's so many great things that come out, is that that we realize that the world doesn't care about us as much as we thought, and we care about one another more than we realized. So, there's all kinds of divine messages coming our way. So, Yavin Melech Hatzor, he went to Yovav, king of Madon, king of Shimron, king of Achshaf, wherever these places are. You can see it on the map. They have all these. If you go, if you're into these archaeological sites, they find some of the remains of some of these conquests. Tail this, tail that. Tail is a mound. The mound left of this is that. But so when you're visiting them, you're like, whatever, it's some ruins of some place. But when you see it in the text, you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. It's the especially now in these parshios when Avraham is the journeys that he's making. I thought about it. I was driving to Beersheba the other day, and I'm like, wow, Parshas Lech Lecha, and these parshas going to Beersheba. And by the way, he didn't have Route 6. The straight highway, Beersheba, and just going from Beersheba to Hebron to Jerusalem. It's like, it's a lot. It's a lot of travel, and we just treat it like it's nothing. And then, of course, down to Egypt and back. And Avimelech, Plishtim. The 5 Plishtim cities were basically the Gaza Strip. So it was Ashkelon, Ashdod, Gat, Ekron, and Aza are the 5 Philistine cities, places which are just right along it's the coastal route. And then you had the Via Maris, which we discussed over the years, the coastal pro, which came across the plains, from Mesopotamia to come down the coast to go towards Egypt. How so much is concentrated in that little piece of real estate, this little, how the whole world has been focused on it now for 25 days, until they find something else better to look at. So, and verse 2, we're in Perek Yud Aleph, the kings who were from the north in the mountain and the plain of the south of the Kinneret, and in the lowland and the districts of Dor to the west. Okay. So you know what? Maybe I'll put on this. I put on the map for you. Oh, why? Oh, yeah. You see it?
Okay.
Don't worry, I do my Israeli version of Hebrew for the next, few days. We'll make it a little bigger. There we go.
We all know what Shvela is now when it's
unfortunately
bombarded with Tilim.
Right. So north, so south. It says here, south of here. You see, it says Shimron. If you look on the map, Shimron, and it has places of Melech Achshaf. Okay. Meron, Chatzor, all these places that are mentioned here, which probably most people likely it is. We'll go over all the places afterwards. But here there's just south of the Kinneret, south of the Galilee. Okay. Hakanani mimizrach umiyam v'hamari v'achiti v'prizi v'avusi bahar v'hachavi tachas chermon be'eretz hamitzpah. So these are names. Oh, these names I can get into because these I know. Because we daven every day. We say it before as Yashir every day. The Canaanites were on the east and on the west. By the way, it says Mizrach, of course, is east. Miyam, west, because west Yam. Remember, we talked about the 4 directions. Yama, Vakedma, Tzafon, and Anagba. Yama is towards the Mediterranean. That's why it's called west. The Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites in the mountain, and the Hivites at the foothills of the Hermon in the land of Mitzpah. So the Hermon, of course, is all the way up north. You see Mount Hermon. The northeasternmost part of Israel, where they have that very glorious snow season that lasts, the ski season, which lasts about 2 weeks if you're lucky. So it's a big industry there. Lasot ski. It's good to laugh. It's good laugh. It's good. I mean, the only Jews could make fun of ourselves at this time. We're just fun. The one of the Israeli news channels put out this great parody of the BBC. You have to see it if you didn't see it.
נהדר, ארץ נהדרת.
It's so good. Vayetzu heim v'chol machanehem imam am rav kachol asher al sfas hayom larov v'sus rechav rav ma'od. So they went out with all their camps with them, many people, as numerous as the sand on the seashore, and very many horses and chariots. So this is meant to be, the way I understand it, this is sort of like making fun of them almost. Or because when we hear, especially now, because we're in Parshas Lech Lecha and Vayera, and when we had the Bris Ben Habesarim, we had the covenant between the halves, and the promise that Hashem gave to Avram is that what? Right, you're going to be Kacholayam. You're going to be as many as the sand and the stars. Now, first of all, what does that mean? What's the highest population of Jews ever in the history of the world? Maybe we're 9 million in Israel. The highest we had maybe is between 18 to 20, maybe. We're just replenishing kind of what was taken from us and killed off in the Holocaust. Now we have 9 million. The majority of Jews in the world are in Israel, which is a big deal, which means that less than the majority is in the diaspora. don't hack me trying who you're considering Jewish or not, but let's just say Jewish. But 18 million. They think that maybe before the Holocaust, maybe 18 million. That's Kachalaya.
No.
Sand, stars, מה פתאום.
נכון, מה פתאום.
Statistical error in like a Chinese district. There's a billion Chinese in the world. Literally, it's 1 decimal point. So the way the Chazal explain it is, if you would ask, and they've done this, by the way, it's like the Jay Leno used to go on the street and ask people like dumb questions. If you would ask people in the world, how many Jews, like, look at the major news coverage of every channel now.
נכון.
You would
think
ask,
that we are an empire.
right? How many Jews do you think there are? I don't know. It's got to be 1 billion, 300 billion, million, zillion Jews.
No,
You-
Israel is.
Yeah. I mean, and don't confuse intellectuals with being smart, as I think we've learned carefully also. But people think, you're going to have the influence. People are going to think you're as many as the Chol. You're going to have as many Nobel Prizes, the whole speech. So that's what it means, Chol. So here it's kind of like, I think it's like a plan. You're coming in such great number. You're coming in great physical numbers, or it's going to seem that way. And also, Sus v'rechav Rav Ma'od. When's the last time we were chased by Sus v'rechav Rav Ma'od? In Mitzrayim, right? Vayivadu kol hamalachim ha'ela vayavo v'yachnu yachtav el meimaram lilachem Yisrael. Politics makes strange bedfellows. So all the kings gathered together, whereas they were never together up until now. They did nothing in unison, and they encamped, and the warriors made up to wage war with Israel. So people come together when they want to wage war against us. We come together when they wage war against us. Right? I mean, I'll tell you that one of the most outstanding things that I've seen, I know you've read about it, you've seen it, but I saw it firsthand up close, is that one of the greatest logistical coups or utilization of a network is Achim L'Neshek. Achim L'Neshek, which also with great logistical talent, was for 8-9 months able to organize a protest in Kaplan and Tel Aviv every Saturday night for so many months, and so organized with brochures and this and that material. They dropped everything and they said, no, we're going to help the soldiers. And I'm telling you that what they set up for the soldiers who are coming in and out of the front, and just to give them whatever they need. Just something to eat. This, even when it's like mitzarich mincha. But seriously, one of these guys, they're not interested in religion. Like, which one of the religious soldiers needs mincha? And they're arranging it. And meanwhile, it's like, they have a little migonit, these like little portable bomb shelter things all over the place. You see trucks carrying them all over the place. And they're here in this little makeshift base, which is just really a kikar. It's an intersection. And they have set up a whole tent of food and drinks. And if you need new socks, charge your phone, whatever it is. And these guys are manning the stations. And there's like 3 migonits like right around there, just so that they could take care of these guys. And who's doing it? Because they Achim. No, they also have their material like in the bottom. Like, hey, by the way, in case you're wondering, if we ever get back to it, we do believe in the Jewish reform and all, whatever. But it's really truly incredible because we come together when we need to. The challenge is, how do we come together when we don't need to? Meaning when they're not trying to kill us. So our enemies come together, and people now there was an article in the New York Times last week and a half ago, and Wall Street Journal today or yesterday. When I read it online, I don't know if it means yesterday's paper, today's paper. I didn't see the print one yet today, about how people on the progressive liberal left are feeling unbelievably lonely right now. Because, wait a minute, I marched for Black Lives Matter, and I stood up for LGBTQ rights, and where are you now? Queers for us? Really? Do they have any idea what would happen if they walked into Gaza? Oh my goodness. Okay, so. It's hard. They feel very, very, very much marginalized we supported these guys. Where do we go? So we need to broaden our tent, by the way. We have to make room for everybody and realize, where's our real allies? Where are the people that we need to align with, in these times? Because when they're coming for us, they're not going to ask you who you voted for. They're not going to ask you. They're going to say, oh, what tribe do you belong to? And that's enough for them to want to come after us. So that's the people coming against us. Vayomer Hashem Yehoshua, al tira mipneihem. Ki machar ke'es hazos anochi nosein es kulam chalalim lifnei Yisrael, es suseihem te'aker ves markav osehem tisrof ba'esh. Hashem says, don't be afraid. By tomorrow, this time, I'm going to deliver them as of corpses before Israel. You'll hamstring their horses. You'll burn their chariots in fire, not chariots of fire. Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum.
דרכות האש, כן.
Hey, you know that, right? That was actually in the 1980s that instrumental piece from Chariots of Fire was in the top 40 list of Casey Kasem. If you remember, did you listen to the Casey Kasem on Sunday mornings, right? Right. America's top 40. Yeah. One of the first times I think an instrumental piece actually rose to the top 40. File that away and put that in the whole huge vat of information I give you that is useless. And it is huge, getting larger.
You might ask us about New Year.
I might. It's gonna be on the final. Yeah. Vayavo Yehoshua v'chol am hamilcha. So Hashem says, okay, don't worry about it.
Unknown callers.
Whereas, and you'll see a shift here. Whereas Hashem did a lot for them. Let's say in Yericho, and they just kind of had to walk around and follow and see. And then we had the Milchemes Ai. They told them what to do, and they did it. Here, it's like less and less Hashem's direct involvement, more and more Yehoshua and the army's involvement, but never thinking that Hashem's not there. He's just sort of maybe not as active. We're creating a transformation where you're going from that completely idealistic and miraculous existence of Egypt and the Midbar into Israel, but slowly, it's like you're on your own. It's like when they teach you how to ride a bike, right? When the kids look on their face when they realize that you weren't holding on anymore. Like what? Wow, I was because it's the hardest thing to do. I can't run after them. All those steps with the bike and wobbling this and that. Like just go do it, okay? But then they realize I could do it. And then like, I don't need you to begin with. So that's kind of what's happening. Like God's slowly taking off the training wheels.
But he just said that
Yeah, he says that, but then let's see what happens. So let's see. So Yehoshua goes, so Yehoshua and the people went, but he attacked them suddenly at the waters of Merom and fell upon them. So you see Merom, the big star here in the front. That's this right here. Merom. I don't think it says May Marom. It's not to be. I don't think this is the same thing. This is not like when we talk about Har and Meron. It's not the same thing, even though it's kind of near-ish, the same-ish type of area. So it could be it's not, but Meron meaning something up high because that's a very mountainous region there, which means that, by the way, the battlefield in Gaza right now versus what the potential battlefield in the border of Lebanon is very, very different terrain-wise, very, very different. Which makes it, just a lot more challenging on so many levels. So they go, okay, and they go pitom vayiplu behem. Suddenly, and they fell upon. Vayitenem Hashem biyad Yisrael. So Hashem does, of course, everything has to be biyad Hashem. Even when we strike and we're victorious, you always have to see Yad Hashem. You have to look at this as the key in everything in your life. No matter how much you studied and how much you did this and that, there's so many people today who, don't have a college degree and are successful CEOs, and there are people that are brilliant and they can't, put one foot in front of the other. A lot of it has to do with Yad Hashem, okay? That because you recognize or you somehow are blessed with seeing the hand of God, we call that divine providence, or you call it the hand of God. You met supposed to meet and you were where you're supposed to be, and you you said what you were supposed to say. That's the whole mazel makom man lashon. Okay, right? Anyway, so Yad Hashem vayakum vayerdefum ad Sidon Rabbah va'ad misrafot mayim va'ad bikat mitzpei mizracha vayakum ad bilti yishir lahem sarid. So he delivered them into the hand of Israel, and they struck them, pursued them all the way to the great Sidon, Misrafoth Mayim, and to the valley of Mitzpeh eastward. They struck them till they're not left a remnant. Here you can see Sidon all the way up top. Okay, valley of Mitzpeh. You have these places listed here: eastward, westward, up top, up north, until there's nothing left. That's a phrase that we see a lot in Bamidbar when Hashem talks about, and Bamidbar and Devarim talking about conquering places until there was nothing left. No sarid, Not a remnant is left. Vayas lahem Yehoshua kasher amar lo Hashem, es susehem iker ves markavoseim saraf ba'esh. So Yehoshua did with them as Hashem had told him, even though Hashem said it would happen, but Yehoshua is the one who did it. He didn't just sit back and Hashem struck them like we see in some other battles, even happens later on in the Navi, but he did as Hashem told him. He hamstrung their horses and he burned their chariots in fire. Okay? Next. 10. Vayashav Yehoshua be'esahi, vayilkod es chatzor, ves malka hika becharev, ki chatzor lefanim, ki rosh kol hamamlachos ha'eleh. Yehoshua turned back at that time, then he conquered Chatzor. So Chatzor is directly north of the Kinneret here. Right there is Chatzor. So if you take the Kinneret straight up, here's like Tiveria, and then if you go up straight north, that's how you get to Meron and places like that. When you drive up towards the Golan, which becomes very hilly, etc. But he went, because he's all the way up in Sidon, which is kind of all the way up on the coast. He comes back to Chatzor, and he struck the king with a sword because Chatzor had formerly been the leader of all those kingdoms. So you want to cut off the head of the snake. Vayaku et kol hanefesh asher ba lefi charev lefi lo notar kol neshama ve'chatzor saraf ba'esh. He killed every soul that was in it, destroying them by the edge of the sword. Not a soul was left. He burned Chatzor in fire. Okay, when you have to take care of the enemy, there's no Mr. Nice Guy here. Again, these two chapters, last one and this one, anybody ever says, oh, the Jews are such a nice, peace-loving, kumbaya type of people, got another thing coming for you, because we killed everything, burned everything in sight, because what happens if you leave them there? You play whack-a-mole, which is one of the challenges that we face right now, and this is one of the big conversations. How do we defeat our enemy? You're not defeating an enemy, you're defeating an ideology. Ideology is very hard to overcome, especially when you're talking about a younger population. The Gaza, which is one of the most densely populated places on earth. There was a statistic in the Jerusalem Post this weekend. That's one of my vices. When I go to Israel, I buy the Friday Jerusalem Post because it's got the extended section. It's great articles, just great. And even the TV listings, just great. Tells you what activities are going on in Jerusalem. They still have it this week. What activities are going on in Jerusalem, which museums are open. Amazing. But there was a statistic that I think it said 40% of the population in Gaza right now is under the age of 14. And something like 50% on the age of 21. It takes a generation to get rid of that ideology. It's not, you kill one, another one comes up. That's a big problem. So he burns it to fire, to the ground. They smote every soul that was in it, and he conquered all the cities and all the kings. He struck them with the edge of the sword, destroying them, just as Moshe. Here, we haven't heard from Moshe in a while. But mentioning Moshe here, in other words, that he doesn't deviate from the plan whatsoever. Moshe understood what the mission was, and Yehoshua follows through on it. And he does exactly what he's supposed to do, because not to think like, oh, all of a sudden you're gonna have a nice, be nice to them. They'll be your allies, this and that. No, Moshe said you got to get rid of him all the way to the end. You had a question?
What's the distinction? In one place he said according to what God told him, and here he says according to what Moshe told him. Right.
So I'm trying to find here because that's the problem is I realize I can't see anymore. Hold on. It was in one of the different Mefarshim. Hold on. No, I'm not going to play. Because so the Marikra says that Moshe told him that, he says in Devarim, Lola hachayos behem. You can't keep anybody alive, and you have to do everything that I command you. And it says Yehoshua did it. Shelo hishir kol neshama. Ba'oso lashon shezira Kadosh Baruch Hu b'tchilas hasefer rak chazak v'matzma'o lishmor la'asos kechol haTorah asher tzivicha Moshe avdi al tosim mimeni ba'oso lashon meidel avakatzer she'asa kol. I think since it's coming toward us to the end of this conquest, he's saying that from start to finish, Yehoshua never deviated from his master's plan, either from his master, human Moshe, or his master, what HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him. And it's giving you that emphasis that Yehoshua never injected any of his personal pride, like we see later on happens with King Shaul, with Agag, and he never deviates from the plan whatsoever because he realizes that this is part of the divine mission. I think it's kind of trying to bring everything sort of full circle here. Rak kol ha'arim ha'omdos al tilom lo srufam Yisrael zilasis chatzor levadas Raf Yehoshua. All the cities whose walls remained steadfast, they didn't burn. Only Chatzor did he burn, and all the and then we have, because they had different laws about what to do. They had instructions. These ones to keep up. Some of them had to be as sort of memorials. All the spoils of these cities and the livestock they took for themselves as they were allowed to, but they struck every man by the edge of the sword until they exterminated them. They didn't leave any soul. Ooh, wow. This is like, makes Game of Thrones look PG. Not that I know what that is. So I've heard, allegedly. There's no dragons here. Kasher tziva Hashem es Moshe abdo, kein tziva Moshe es Yeshua, v'chein asa Yehoshua lo hisi davar mikol asher tziva Hashem es Moshe. Right there, you have it to bring first.
Yeah.
Like, exactly. Right. So it's bringing everything full circle, because remember that we have a couple of more of conquest, but ultimately there's stages here. First we had kibush, then we had chiluk. We had to have conquest, and then chiluk. The next section of the book is going to be of dividing the land. You know what that means? More maps. That's what it means. Okay, arguing. What? We argue? Who, us?
Yeah.
What? Me? Joke? Alfredi Newman. Okay. Lo Hasir. He did not remove. That's, by the way, it's the same. We have a prohibition in the Chumash that says Lo Sasser Hadavar Min Asher Yigidu, Yamin the small. That you're not, and this is actually where we learn the whole of rabbinic prohibitions. Based on that, if you violate, we treat things. Sometimes we take rabbinic prohibitions, we take them very seriously, and sometimes it's like, it's only rabbinic. But the using the hermeneutic rules to interpret the laws of the Torah, from the written Torah to the oral Torah, et cetera, through the power of the Rabbanan, that teaches us that it's just as strict, if not more strict, than a biblical commandment, because it says lo sasur. You cannot deviate right or left. So even if they tell you your right is left and your left is right, you have to, that you can't deviate. We listen to that to the koach of the Torah Shabbat Peh. So he didn't deviate. Vayikach Yehoshua es kol haaretz hazos, hahar ves kol hanegev ves kol eretz hagoshen, ve'es hashvela ves harav ves har Yisrael u'shvelasa. So Yehoshua took the entire land. Now we're going to go recap the whole thing. The entire land, the mountain, the entire south, the entire land of Goshen, and the lowland, and the Arava, and the Mount Israel, and its lowland. It sounds like a JNF plan here, but he takes the entire thing. So you're going to see all the way from the top of the arrow here. If you're going all the way to Sidon, all the by the way, Sidon, which today is Lebanon, it's in Lebanon. Now you'll see in the time of King David, the boundaries of Israel even broader. Some go all the way up to Turkey, by the way, in case anybody's interested in Turkey, but whatever. It's almost Thanksgiving. And you have all this whole area. And this, by the way, so this map is just the northern conquest, but if you put together what we saw last time, the southern, so now we have quite a bit of land here, and the UN does not even have to be involved. Okay. So he takes all the land and all of its lowland. Shvela is always the lowland. You're getting my little side comments in. Okay, the shvela is the word shiflut or shefel or shfel ruach. It's someone who has humility, lowness of spirit is shfel ruach. But it doesn't mean that you make yourself low. What is humility? What is the definition of humility?
Tzniut, no?
Tzniut is modesty. And Avah is humility. So there's a different, there's no synonyms in Lashon HaKodesh. Humility, sometimes we think humility is like
ענווה, ענווה.
it's like you walk with your head down and like you don't say anything.
ענב. עין נון וו.
Right?
נכון?
That's what anav is. Anav means you don't talk about yourself. You don't right. You don't. Because think about shval, lowness of the head, shval ruach, your head is down, versus when we talk about your nose up. Arrogance, haughtiness, being supercilious. I only do this because I had to pick my head up. Is picking your head up is or you're beneath me, but part of it, but it's not always about your body language, your countenance. A lot of sometimes what has to do with anava or shiflut is knowing your strengths at the same time knowing your limitations. Who's the only person whose personality trait is described in the entire Chumash? One person.
נוח?
No, Moshe. That's enough. Noach, it calls him a tzaddik. That's not a character trait. That's just a classification. But Moshe's character trait, enough. Like Moshe's enough? Moshe's loud. Moshe talks back to God. Moshe says, in effect, to God, take this job and shove it. He says, you're going to cut me, take me out of the book. I don't want this. Who are you? Moshe talks back to God. No, because Moshe understood his anivut is that he understood his fullest awareness what his strengths were and what they were not. He knew he's not the same guy that could talk back to God said, I can't talk to Paro. I started, right? But you talk back to God, no problem, because in the realm of serving God, he understood that's my strength. Being a diplomat, being a pop, that's not my thing. So real shiflut, real anivut is understanding what you're supposed to be. That's why the Rambam says, the Rambam in Hilchas Tshuva, the laws of Tshuva says that everybody has the ability to be like Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay, so I mean, we all think that, what does it mean to be like Moshe Rabbeinu? Meaning that if you actualize your potential more than any, that's being like Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, more than anyone else, actualizes his potential. I've heard this in the name of Schechter once from YU. He said that's why if when it's in this week's parsha, when Hashem speaks to Avraham at the Akedah, and he says, Vayomer Avraham, Avraham. But if you look in there, it says Avraham, Avraham. There's something called a psik. There's a line in between the two Avrahams. When Hashem speaks to Moshe at the Sneh, it says Moshe, Moshe. There is no line. In other words, because he said there's no barrier. Moshe, even more than Avraham, actualized his potential. Moshe became Moshe. That's why we can all be as great as Moshe Rabbeinu. So here,
shiflut is more like humiliation.
So shivili, it's lowliness, but it's putting yourself down and realizing that I don't need. It can, but also positive. When you say shval ruach is always have a shval ruach. A person should be low of spirit, means that you don't think so much of yourself. Don't. You're not as great as you think you are, or know your boundaries. We always say that the in let's say communal leadership is that the people that you want to fill the positions are always the ones that don't want to do it because they're smart enough to know not to do it. You have to beg them. You have to ask them a few times. The people that come running for it, you're like, oh boy, look out, right? How many times I asked Shelley to be the president? It's like it was years in development.
My first favorite thing he said, if we asked you, would you say yes?
What did I say?
Huh? No, he came to me. If we asked you, would you say yes? I said, of course.
Okay, good. It's good. We had a good run. That was good stuff. Okay. Minahar echalak ha'oleh seir va'ad bal gad bebikas halvanon tachas har chamon ve'eskom achem lacha ve'akem v'amisem. So from the split mountain that ascends to Seir, okay, Seir is all the way up. It's sort of towards the land of Esav. They call Har Seir, and to the plain of God in the valley of Lebanon at the foot of Mount Hermon. Mount Hermon you could see right here, okay, and right by the top box on the page, right there, okay, and he conquered all their kings. He struck them and he killed them. Yamim Rabim Masa Yeshua's Kol Malachim Ha'elah Milchama. Now, don't think this happened overnight. Hashem said, don't worry, tomorrow I'll have, but he still had to go to work. He said he battled with them for a very, very long time. They happens, Mefarshim say this took place over a period of a few years,
This one says 7
even.
years.
Yeah. Because we know that Kibush V'chilik was 14 years and 14 years. 14 years of conquering and 14 years of, that's how long it took to do the partition plan, the original partition plan, to give out the space for the tribes. There wasn't a city that made peace with the children of Israel except for the Chivite inhabitants of Givon. They took everything in battle. Why? Hashem es libam likrasim milchama es Yisrael laman hachariyamam v'vilti hayos lahem techina kilaman tishmidam kasher tziva Hashem es Moshe. Because it was Hashem, it was from Hashem to harden their hearts towards battle against Israel in order to destroy them. By the way, again, you see this other reference, hardening their hearts. Chazek es libam, also kind of a throwback to Paro. Wait a minute, what weren't they smart enough to just not go to battle with Israel? People aren't smart enough because Hashem hardens their hearts. You can have the whole question, the Rambam and the Ramban, did Hashem take away their free choice, etc., etc. But that's a Shmuel's question. So they didn't find favor, so they would be exterminated as Hashem commanded Moshe. This is all part of the divine plan. This is what's going to happen. Vayavo Yehoshua be'esahi. So we're going to finish off this chapter. Yehoshua comes in that time and Vayachreses ha'anakim min ahar min Chevron min Devir min Anav min Kol Har Yehuda min Kol Har Yisrael imarehem hechrim Yehoshua. He cuts down the anakim from the mountain, from Chevron, from Devir, Anav, all the mountains of Judah, from all the Mount Israel. Yehoshua destroyed with their cities. What is anakim? That's this we have now, right? We had, so here, if you listen, the giants that everybody saw, and by the way, these are the same giants. Where did we last see these giants? And don't say the Meadowlands. Don't say it. Don't say it. See, you wanted to. Not here. When do we first? Well, we're countering them now. Yes. Remember when they sent the spies in?
Yeah.
V'gama anakim ra'usham. What scared them away in the times of the spy? Oh, these same anakim, because I can imagine that's pretty scary. If you're gonna keep people out of your territory, why not put some giants there? That'll help. And the Anakim and Nephilim, I'm not sure if it's the same thing. Nephilim, they say they weird midrash that they fell out of the skies and this, and they married the women. And those first few chapters in Bereshis, we kind of conveniently skim over them because they're just too weird to understand. But we say that maybe these are the same giants that in next week's parsha. Sarah Imenu, how did she die right away after the Akedah? Because the giants told her, like, can you see him? Can you see him? Can you see him? You see my kid? Yeah, oh yeah, there he's got the knife on your son's neck. And then she died of shock, something like that. It's a convenient medrash. I don't know what that means. I can't I can't tell you the giants, but the archaeologists will tell you they never saw remnants of any giants, and I don't know what they're talking about, but we have these giants. Anakim, maybe they were giant in might, giant in size, I don't know, but here we have them mentioned again. But you see, all the throwbacks of the Chumash are coming right back here. The Anakim that deterred, we're being misaking that deterred the spies from wanting to conquer Israel. Now we're actually taking care of them. And the Sus and then the sand, all those things, it's all coming full circle. And guess what? Until nothing is left of them. And all these places. And by the way, Har Yehuda, that's the Jerusalem area is like just north of Jerusalem or just northwest of Jerusalem is the Yehuda mountain area. And he took care of everything. Lo nosar anakim be'eretz b'nei Yisrael rak ba'azah begat u'ba'ashdod nisharu. The only anakim that were left were in the Philistim area, which is, I said here, look, Gaza, Gat, and Ashdod. It's ridiculous that Gaza's still around. Gaza's the problem then. Gaza serves as a problem. You asked Shimshon, he had a problem with Gaza. Everybody has a problem with Gaza.
We talk about conquering. We talk about people and the animals and their goods and giants. Does it ever mention children? Or the people?
Nothing is left. Sometimes it said you could spare the women and children, but here, gar nisht. That's what I'm saying. Don't get this like Pollyannish view that, oh, we're so, nice. We're not. And sometimes if you want to fulfill the, if you want peace, you got to make war. If you want to fulfill the biblical commandments, you got to wipe everybody out. I mean, it's ugly. It's not pretty. I always wonder how they teach this in schools. I don't recall learning this in school in such detail.
Not in detail,
They just kind of like, yeah, they have 31 kings. Okay, next, skip 10 pages. And, it's like the Avod on Yom Kippur. Okay, now turn to page 482. Even that's so
We
support.
didn't,
Right?
The Hebrew Academy taught this in detail.
I think
In middle school.
Yeah, but did you ever ask? But I guess we didn't have these questions. Did you have these questions?
It was the
Wait, do we
80s,
just-
better times.
Do we just kill children? My father once asked me when I was in 6th grade and I was like learning and he thought I knew everything. And he said to me, like, if, we're such a kind nation, why are we killing animals all the time for these carbonas? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm in 6th grade.
I still ask that
Right?
question.
But maybe the premise is wrong. Who says? Where does it say that we're such a nice, fun-loving nation? Where does it say that? Like, people get annoyed, by the way, and I learned this a long time ago, especially in America. You don't say Israel is the most moral army in the world, because then you're saying that the United States is not a moral army or not as moral. Say Israel is one of the words matter. But what does that mean? So we have these premises. Oh, we're so kumbaya. We're not. Not in the Torah at all.
Different standards.
Correct. Today's a different world, Western standards, Judeo-Christian ethic, whatever you want to call that. But in actuality, when Hashem said you had to go kill women and children, that's why Shaul got into trouble. Because he thought, oh, let me spare the women and the children, and let me spare the animals. Let me spare with this. No, Hashem says to get rid of it, you get rid of it.
But they talk about the animals. I don't remember them talking about the children.
It says until nothing was left. His Shiur lahem sarid. Maybe it's just being nice by not mentioning it, they're killing children, but
Listen, even the rabbis already mentioned through the different ethic. They're not Karaites. Eye for an eye was not eye for an eye. For
Correct.
the rabbis, they already were moving
Right,
away
right.
from things.
Right,
So
but in
they-
Mechemet Mitzvah, all bets are off. Mechemet Mitzvah, you had it, and like the whole thing of Kiseitze. If you're in war and you see a woman and you want to take her and you want to have her, we didn't spend too much time with detail that either. Let's finish the Perek. We'll see as we get to it why they were left in Gat and in Ashdod and in Gaza. We can never fully cleanse Gaza, apparently. The one day would be so nice to see like the Gaza Golf and Country Club, seaside holes.
They could have had it.
There'll be plenty of bunkers.
Left them.
They had it.
Do you know that leading up to 1948, and then from 1948 to 1967, when Egypt did not annex Gaza, Egypt merely controlled Gaza, and it was like nobody wanted them, and it was a mess. In 1960, from 1967 to 2005, until the disengagement, Gaza saw a consistent, almost 9% increase in development and GDP every single year, right? And so, yeah, it was nice. Anybody ever been?
No.
Like Gush Katif? Beautiful. It was beautiful. Look, that's where I remember Lisa Flato.
Yes,
I was terrible. She was on
Lisa Plato was in Sarit's class. She took a bus to the beach and there was a suicide.
yeah, she was sitting on the bus. She was going to. Yeah.
Stephen Plato's dad, he's a lawyer, he's very outspoken
Yeah.
about terror.
Yeah, and he's like he sues the Iranian government, things like that. Yeah, yeah. With what's her name? Nitzana Drush
Yeah.
Leitner.
Yeah.
She's quite impressive. Let's finish it. Vayikach Yehoshua es kol haaretz kachol asher dibar Hashem al Moshe. Vayitnal Yehoshua lanachal Yisrael k'mach l'kosam l'shifteihem va'aretz shachtam milchama. Oh, Yehoshua took the entire land according to all that Hashem had spoken to Moshe. He gave it to Israel as a heritage, according to the divisions to their tribes, and then the land rested for more. How great would we love to see that pasuk come true one of these days? V'haaretz shakta memilch. Halavai vaita. We have to keep davening. So we'll see. But what happens is because you had to commit, you had to finish. No matter how uncomfortable maybe it makes you, you have to finish the mission. You have to do what is committed out. who's making the commandments. I can't say that now, but it doesn't come from the Merkaz, whatever. But you know what? We hope that hopefully we'll be able to finish this this mission one of these days. I don't know. Anyway, Yeh Tov.
אמן. לא יודעת מתי, אבל טוב.
אני לא נביא, אני לא בן נביא. אני רק מאמין בני מאמין. No.
בסדר.
That's it. We got to do this. We'll do this together. We're going to keep learning because all's good. Have a wonderful day.
תודה. Thank you.
Voters